following program is intended for mature audiences.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
All right. Hello.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Any of you guys see me kind of have a slight hockey breakdown in the NHL thread?
Why no, but let's take a look.
Like, when I saw you getting on his case, I'm like, what is Mike's issue here? I don't...
No, there's just a lot of pent-up frustrations on my end as far as hockey goes.
Oh, Mike, you did have a bit of a spiel here, didn't you?
Yeah. I think Sharks fans are still... they still have reason to be like, we went through a lot of shit to get here.
I also have a bad experience, though, with Sharks fans in general.
Right. I understand that.
No fucks.
Right, but I understand that. But, I mean, I don't want the Sharks to win either because they're all assholes. But I wouldn't say that, like, if a Sharks fan's like, God, we lost so much and, you know, we keep losing in the playoffs, like, spectacularly. I'd be like, yeah, you do. And it's hilarious. But I would still say that makes them a suffering fan base.
I think, too, that with Mike's Leafs, like and I hate to bring this up again, Mike, I don't mean to like rub it in or anything, but the way they went out the last time they were in the playoffs was just so brutal. I almost think that counts more than what's it been like for the Sharks, like 25 years, basically. I'm going to say that they do, I think that they are allowed to make a claim as I don't want to say a tortured fan base, but have they paid their dues yet to some extent? I think they have. But I also think that when you're a team like a Maple Leafs fan where it's been since 67,
yep,
and you were, I mean, let's just say it, you had Boston beat in that series in 2000, was it 14?
It was the lockout season.
But, yeah.
The last one.
First year we were doing this show. And to see the way that happened, I'm a Cleveland sports fan. I don't recall ever seeing a team get its heart ripped out like that ever. None of that's either here nor there as to the actual point. But so your argument is that the Sharks don't have a claim to being a...
I would say they don't have a claim to it. I guess my argument is just, one, fuck the Sharks, because I've got bad experiences with not all of their fans, and I wouldn't even say the fans of theirs still on the CCSLC that I interact with, but, you know, there have been very shitty Sharks fans that I have had the displeasure of dealing with personally, and a lot of that bullshit coupled with just the inane bullshit that they spew on HF boards just kind of makes me go, just, you know what, just fuck the Sharks. No, my whole point is, like, you know, Alex Houston or any other Sharks fan really coming up and saying, we've paid our dues, and I'm just sitting here as a Leafs fan going like, no, you haven't.
Well, they have.
I think they have too, but...
It's just, you know, they're not the same thing as you. Just no one's going to live up to what the Maple Leafs have done. Like, that's not, you know, the teams don't have to lose for 40 years before they're allowed to win, right? Or you can't have 40 years before you can consider yourself, like, you know, if you tell a Sharks fan, be like, oh, you know what, you're right, it's not so bad. We've only continuously had high expectations and sucked for 15 years, half of my life.
Well, that's like, I would say that in some aspects, and again, now I'm certainly not going to compare not winning a cup since '67 to what the Sharks have been through, but in some ways, like them being, I mean, how many times have they come close and just blown it? You know, there was the Kings down 3-0, or they were up 3-0 on the Kings.
There was that year where they were like, were the President's
Trophy winner, and they got beaten 5 games by my Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah,
that was a first round. That was a first round shellacking. And then there have been a couple other series. There was one in particular. It was maybe about 8 to 10 years ago. I think they were playing Colorado, and like they had that series won. It wasn't a reverse sweep situation, but I remember them having Colorado on the ropes, and then the Avs just kind of came back and won it. But so yeah, they have had and we've chronicled it on the show. I'm certainly not going to tell you guys that the Sharks don't have a history of blowing playoff games blowing playoff series, because they certainly do. But again, my whole point is, no, you don't know what it's really like to pay your fucking dues. You just don't. No, you just fucking don't.
This is just sounds like a very selfish argument from your end, Mike.
Yeah,
Because as it is normally this time of year, the Maple Leafs don't have anything to do with the Stanley Cup Final.
Ooh. Well, I'm just going to step back and let this happen now.
That is my problem. That is my. No. You said you're stepping back.
Well, I thought you guys were going to fight, but I'm going to step in because I have a question here, actually, that's relevant to the topic, I think. I think we've all had, even me, to a lesser extent, have had our run-ins with Shark fans over the years. I mean, Iron Chef Shark comes immediately to mind. Let's just say for a second, Mike, let's say that this is the Columbus Blue Jackets we're talking about. And McCarthy, friend of the show, makes the same claim, we've paid our dues. Do you feel the same way? No one's going to say that the Jackets fans have paid the same dues the Leafs fans have, but do you feel the same way that the fan base isn't quite as annoying?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't because, I think I've been very open about the fact that, Sharks fans, I've had the displeasure of dealing with some very annoying, rude, obnoxious, jerkish Sharks fans, and that has soured me to the whole enterprise that is San Jose Sharks. And that's another thing. Because of all of this bullshit with the Sharks, be it through ICS, be it through the idiots on HF boards, because of all of that, I am predisposed to think of Sharks fans as inherently full of themselves.
Okay.
And so, because I'm predisposed to think of Sharks fans as inherently full of themselves, when they start saying, oh, well, we've paid our dues, and then I look at things from my perspective, I'm like, oh, that's just more Sharks fans, trying to make themselves something that they're not, and that's kind of where that reaction comes from. But to address Zach's earlier point, you're not wrong, and I'm not going to even bother denying it at this point. No, it is just a really – I'll say it. I'm fucking salty. I've gotten to the point where I have seen I've seen Canadian team – I've seen almost every other team in Canada not win the Cup certainly, but make it. I've seen Vancouver go on a run. I've seen Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, I've seen those teams go on runs. I've seen the Canadians, they haven't made it to the Cup in a while, but they've had, decent playoff pushes. And the Blackhawks, who prior to 2010 actually had the longest continuous Cup drought. They hadn't won it since, I think, 62 at that point. And then they go off. They build themselves a neat little, proto-dynasty there, and I'm still not going to call it a dynasty, but, it's a proto-dynasty there, and no denying that. And now, like, the fucking Sharks, the fucking San Jose Sharks of all teams, and their fucking holier-than-thou fan base who wants to build up their fucking goddamn rec league.
Hey, but it's a fine rec league. Come on now.
Oh, I don't give a fuck.
Come on now. You got to give credit where credit's due.
And all of them, it's just fucking frustrating. Like, no. And the Leafs, this team that should, this team that has all of, this greatness in their past worth celebrating. And now, with each passing season, what should be a past worth celebrating just gets all the more frustrating. And I'm fucking sick and tired of it. And, the Leafs have shown a desire to turn things around. We've got a great coach. They've got the number 1 draft pick. They're going to be serious contenders in the Stamkos sweepstakes coming up. So there's a lot to look forward to as a Leafs fan, but still, no, I am fucking pissed off. And you could say, direct that anger towards Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, except at the end of the day, that doesn't change anything. I'm still pissed off that other teams have been able to have these breakthroughs and the Leafs haven't. And then one of the teams that is lucky enough to have one of these breakthroughs, a team that's lucky enough to be a regular playoff team for the past 15 years, wants to complain to, one of their fans wants to complain about paying their dues. No.
Well, I would just add, too, that I think that instead of directing it towards the Maple Leafs, if you direct it towards the Sharks, it makes much better radio, so I'm all for it.
So yeah, Zach. No, you're absolutely right. I don't deny any of that. I am incredibly pissed off.
So I think that probably it's safe to say that you want the Penguins to win the Cup.
I'm going to be pulling for them. Yeah. I also think, just from trying to be as objective as possible, I think say what you will about Sidney Crosby. I think he's probably the best player of his generation. And that Penguins team since 2008 has routinely been stacked. And I think it's a shame that they've really only had that they've had that one cup win in 2009 and nothing else since. I think they've squandered a good portion of Sidney Crosby's career, and again Velkin as well. And so trying to be as unbiased as possible, it's sort of one of those things where it's like the greatest player of his generation, Sidney Crosby, and one of the best teams of that generation, the Pittsburgh Penguins. It would be nice if they had more to show for it than just one Stanley Cup win.
Well, let's get Zach in here and get his thoughts. We've just done 13 minutes of why Mike hates the Sharks, so let's
what was it? I had something to say. Well, Mike, I mean, with the Maple Leafs, at least you have, the 100th anniversary to look forward to. And then Austin Matthews, and things will get better. It'll get better, Mike.
I think so.
It'll get better. And then, one last thing on the previous argument too is it's different. If a Nashville Predators fan had said they paid their dues versus a Sharks fan, I think there's a difference. The Sharks fans.
There's absolutely a difference. Although my problem with Predators fans isn't that they're claiming to pay their dues. My problem with Predators fans is that they took another second round beatdown and are trying to spin it into a positive now. That's what pisses me off about Predators fans.
It's so stupid.
I think every team has every unsuccessful team. There are different levels to futility. So I'm not going to begrudge the Sharks. I think that it may be a bit disingenuous to have this incredible playoff run and go, we've paid our dues. No, what you've finally done is you've finally broken through when you probably should have done it 4 or 5 times before this.
Well,
it's kind of hard to go, oh, well, good for you guys. You finally, all those years of futility. No, it wasn't futility. It was choking. So I guess I can kind of see where Mike's coming from that aspect. That this isn't a matter of not getting there or being horrible for years. So, yeah, go ahead, Zach.
I think the other thing is that if this was like, if hell had frozen over and it was Sharks Maple Leafs here in the Cup final, then I'd be much more on your side of the argument for that, Mike. But it doesn't have really any relevance other than sour grapes at this point.
I don't deny that. So,
but
whatever.
The thing I am completely on your side with, Sharks fans are assholes. The only place I've ever gotten a beer report on me. San Jose, just a bunch of self-righteous pissants from the Silicon Valley that I just don't have the time of day for it because fuck them, and the color teal is ugly.
Hey, these uniforms are lame, man.
Is it possible that taking out the play-by-play the play-by-play or the color commentator was really what the one piece that needed to be changed?
Yeah, as the final is about to start here, I'm sure Drew Remenda crying up in Edmonton now. It's like, oh well, they fired me. Now I get to go for a new burgeoning franchise with all this young talent in Edmonton. Oh no.
Was game 1 tonight? Tomorrow.
Game one's tonight. It starts in like 2 minutes.
Oh, all right.
You know what else is tonight?
Yeah, Game 7 of Warriors Thunder.
Before we go to there, let's wrap this up first. Predictions for the Cup final. I got Penguins in 6, so they can do it in San Jose and just crush all the hopes and dreams of Sharks fans.
That's some cold-blooded shit right there.
I'll add on to that. But I'll say that in Game 6, the Sharks will lead 3-0 going into the third period, and they will lose in overtime.
Boy, I'm really going to go against the grain here, but I like the Sharks in 6 in this one. Sorry.
You didn't think that they were actually going to beat the Cavaliers, so?
No, I didn't even think they were going.
They put up a good showing.
I didn't even think they. I mean, honestly, I was shocked that they got past Miami. From being perfectly honest.
Well, see, that's what I said in the thread, though. I think people forgot that they were the number 2 seed in the East.
Doesn't matter.
In the East, I don't know if that makes that big a deal, but it wasn't like that they were this number 8 seed that went on some incredible run. They're a pretty good basketball team.
It's the East. It's all relative. Everyone except whatever team LeBron James is on in the East can't play basketball. It's like a fact.
He's been to what? Six straight
finals now. Yeah. Well, first off, that doesn't happen if he plays in the West. Well, maybe it would if he plays in the West. Maybe
I don't think so.
I don't know.
There's too much talent in the West.
Well, you got the Spurs and the Warriors and the Thunder and even the Clippers. It's just harder.
Yeah, this is true. But while we're talking about that, the Thunder just handed this series back to Golden State. It's over. I mean, there's just no way they win tonight. It just doesn't happen.
I'm still holding out hope that the Thunder can pull it off, but it's not looking good.
I agree.
I don't know. I mean, the Thunder in their wins over Golden State. I still hate that as a location name.
Hopefully they go back to San Francisco once they move to the toilet bowl.
Probably not, because then they'll, they spend all this time in Oakland, and they probably don't want to exclude one side of the bay.
Nobody gives a shit about Oakland. Not even Oakland does.
Well, maybe. But just how impressive the Thunder were in their wins over over Golden State. I still give them a pretty damn good shot, because even when the Thunder or when the Warriors were winning their games, they weren't blowing them out really by any stretch. They were still pretty close games.
My hope is that the Thunder, it's sobering. It's like, okay, we let them come back. We can't let it happen, and they just go all out and just bury them early. That's what I'm pulling for here.
I think the other thing that would make that hilarious is if the Warriors are in the finals, no matter what the Sharks do, they'll be overshadowed by the basketball team.
This is true.
The Sharks finally have their breakout, and it's like, and it just so happens to coincide with the Warriors having perhaps the greatest basketball season of all time.
Yeah,
the Sharks won the Stanley Cup. Oh, did they really?
Nobody cares.
Because the stories in San Francisco area, the story is going to be one of two things: either that the Warriors repeat, or that the Warriors went 73-9 and didn't repeat. That's going to be the main story. And the Sharks, whatever they do, I think win the cup or not, they're going to be down the list. They're not going to be the main focus. I don't know, though. I don't know how big they are in that area. I mean, because you're talking in San Jose, it's a different story. But I think in the overall market area, yeah.
I've seen television ratings numbers for the entire San Francisco Bay Area that show that the Warriors, even before their current run, even before last season, were far and away the bigger television draw than the Sharks were.
Oh, I think that's pretty much. I think you're going to see that in pretty much every market that shares an NBA and an NHL team. I think.
Mm-hmm. Almost all.
Yeah.
Except for I think Boston, you're probably going to get a little bit more even. Detroit probably too.
Chicago maybe.
Chicago for sure. Yeah.
But for the most part.
Right, but in LA, in the Bay Area, in Dallas, even a place like Washington, you're going to find probably more people pay attention to a losing basketball team than a winning hockey team.
Right. But it's going to be interesting tonight. I just think that the Thunder had to win in Game 6 to do it, and letting it get back to Golden State. They're at home. It's a Game 7. I don't like their chances. I'd love to see them do it, but then again, the Cavs beat Toronto, so that pretty much ruled out any Thunder win because that just,
Well, I was actually quite surprised that the Warriors even did win Game 6, because the Thunder, even though they lost Game 5, it just looked like that they were so just locked in at home, and like I said, when they were beating Golden State, it was pretty impressively. So it just felt like, oh, well, the Thunder are really going to do this thing, and that's going to be that.
Well, did you listen to the Bill Simmons podcast from last week? He was talking to one of those guys, one of his buddies.
One of the
I thought he made a good point that he said the Thunder just think they're better than the Warriors. Now, they may not be, but they believe they are. And I kind of noticed that. I'm like, they think they're really good. I mean, they are a good team, but they just have this thing about them. So who knows, maybe. But I really thought they needed to do it in Game 6, and when they didn't, and I was like, yeah, that's going to make it real tough. But you never know. They've already won one game in Golden State this series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows?
But you know what I think, Greg, and this will go against all your conventional wisdom. I think this is the year the Cavs finally do it.
I do too. I joke about if the Thunder win, the Cavs lose, et cetera, but I really do. And I'll tell you why. Last year, the Cavs played Golden State pretty tough for the first couple of games, but obviously they're down Kyrie Irving, they're down Kevin Love. It's basically LeBron and a bunch of white guys named Della Barova or whatever. And you're just not going to beat Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and those guys with that crew. This Cavs team's a different animal. I think they can do it this time. I'm with you. I think this is the year they actually win it.
I'm going to okay. If Oklahoma City wins, I think Cleveland has a shot. If Golden State pulls off the comeback, I think Golden State wins, because if Golden State pulls off the comeback, then this will have been their test, by fire this season. This will have been their big test this season. I think they come out of that into the finals like completely focused and ready to just finish this off.
Or go ahead.
That's just what I think. That's just what I think is going to happen. If Golden State wins, I think then they start thinking, then they actually start believing they are the team of destiny, and there's just too much momentum to stop them.
Or it could be that they come out of a brutal 7-game series with a team that's roughed them up pretty good, and they've got nothing left by the time they get to the Cavs.
And they'd be going up against the Cleveland team that they beat last year, but it was 6 games, right?
Yeah.
Was it 5 or 6?
6. Cavs won 2 games in that series last year.
Right.
They were up 2-1 at one point.
Right. It was 6 games in a series where the Cavaliers were not even close to 100%. Now you have them this year, another year playing together, and they're all hands on deck. Love, Irving, LeBron. I just think that they're going to be that much more determined and healthy and able to beat the Warriors on an even playing field like the finals.
And I like too, and these things are really probably are meaningless when it's all said and done, but the celebration after they beat Toronto was very subdued. It wasn't, hey, look, we're going to the finals, yahoo. It was kind of like, okay, this is the next step in the ultimate, in the goal we're going for. I like it. To me, it seemed like they were more focused. Like, okay, this is great, but this is not where we want to be. We've got one more step to take. So, I don't know. I just got the feeling this is the year, and I could be wrong. I don't know, but I think it's the year.
I would like to see. I think it would be good for LeBron. I think it would be really. I am kind of interested. I am happy to see LeBron, get another shot at winning a championship in Cleveland. Obviously, I think that would be great. And LeBron James wasn't. Taking warm-up shots during our national anthem, so I don't have the same sort of animus I have towards Dwayne Wade. So
and if LeBron loses, and in the words of Stephen A. Smith after that Game 6, and I happen to have ESPN on, and heard him say, if LeBron James loses his 5th finals, his legacy will be forever tarnished. It's like, oh, shut up, Stephen.
No, it won't. The guy's got 2 rings, and he's been there 6 straight times. Look,
but he'd be what, 2-5?
So. You got to get there to lose them is the way I look at it. I've never bought into that.
That is not comforting to the Buffalo Bills.
No. But, see, but I think that Bills team, the 4-year straight Super Bowl, I think it's one of the greatest teams of all time. But, man, they just never could get over the hump. But then again, I look at the Super Bowls and I think there's only 2 of those teams that they were actually better than. They should have beaten the Giants in the first one, and the year they should have beaten the Redskins. Those 2 Cowboys teams, they weren't as good as. It was as simple as that. They weren't going to win no matter what happened. But I'm with you, Zach. I think the Cavs. I think they do it this year. Go ahead, Mike. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, the Bills' case. Obviously, they probably should have won that game against the Giants because that's the wide right game.
Yeah.
So they probably should have won that one. But wasn't that game against Washington? Wasn't that a blowout? It wasn't even close.
Yeah, it was. It was the score made it look closer than it actually was. But yeah, I think that was when they played in Minnesota too, if I remember right. Well, speaking of the Cavs and LeBron. If they win this championship, does that settle it for Cleveland?
Well, from all the stories you've told us about your Cleveland brethren that you've dealt with there in Ohio, it'll be like, well, yeah, so great. It's great that the Cavs won the first championship in the city's history. But then when Brown season comes along, it'll be like, oh, the Browns haven't won since blank, blank, blank. Mm-hmm. The Indians haven't won since blank, blank, blank. So, it'll be great for the Cavs, but the city of Cleveland will still carry the Browns and Indians around their neck.
I think it will take the stigma away from them, from the city nationally, but I don't think it will be I think it'll be satisfying for Cleveland fans, but not to the same extent it would be if it were the Browns or the Indians. It really, if the Browns win the Super Bowl, that would settle it, as far as I'm concerned.
If the Browns win the Super Bowl, I will retire from being a sports fan and just...
I think the Cavs will get rid of they haven't won a championship in that city since '64 stigma, but I don't think that's going to be enough to satisfy all the Cleveland fans.
But alternatively, I think even the most dedicated Cleveland sports fan is aware that the Cleveland Browns aren't winning a championship anytime soon.
No.
So, is it the case where maybe realistic expectations kind of temper the whole thing, and it's like, yeah, okay, it wasn't the Browns, but let's all be serious. The Browns aren't doing it, so this is still pretty good.
Yeah, I think they'll be thrilled. I just think that it won't be – I think that – I guess it's just a matter of importance. I think that it will be the championship, and I think a lot of the fans will be happy that albatross is not hanging around their neck anymore, that the city hasn't won a championship. But the one that they want the most is the Browns, followed by the Indians and the Cavs.
If the Cavs win the NBA Finals this season, and you know what? I'm just going to say, if the Cavs win the NBA Finals at any point during LeBron's career there, I want every Cleveland fan who burnt a LeBron James jersey after the decision to make a public apology. The decision was a douchey thing. I'm not going to defend it, but the reaction on Cleveland's part afterwards was just disgusting.
That's something I've been thinking about too with the Cavs and all that. Mm-hmm. I think that the fans in Cleveland let this not winning a championship thing get in their heads way too much, and that's what caused reactions like the thing you saw to the decision. And that's what caused Browns fans to act like complete idiots when the new Browns came back. Because I swear to God, it was not like this before that stuff happened, before the Browns left. Cleveland fans weren't like this. I don't know what happened, but I think this whole thing with they haven't won a championship, it just got into their heads so much that it turned them into lunatics. If the Cavs can finish the deal on this, at least maybe they'll calm back down and become normal again, I hope.
I think something you said earlier is right, that it'll take the stigma away nationally.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're going to have a national discussion and you get like a Cleveland fan, well, like, we haven't won, and be like, shut up, the Cavs won, enough with you.
Yeah.
But Cleveland fans, I feel, will probably keep that around their neck forever, just until either the Browns ever win or the Indians ever win.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not just going to be the Cavs, Greg.
Yeah, the Monsters.
Could have 2 championships.
Yeah.
Bakery Monsters.
Yeah.
NHL Finals against the Hershey Bears, I believe.
Yeah, I'd actually go to a game or two of those. If I was there, I'd go see that.
You can watch those online, too.
Yeah.
AHL.com is streaming them live.
And I read somewhere, too, that they're finding – I want to say that one of the indoor soccer teams won a championship a few years back. Not a few years, but a while back.
Indoor soccer?
No, but I'm
really?
just saying – no, look, I'm not claiming that as a championship. I'm just saying that someone on the board said – Cleveland might finally get a championship, and it was the Monsters. And I thought, no, another one of these kind of insignificant teams won a championship a while back. Maybe it was the AFL team, the Gladiators. Did they win something? I think it might have been.
I don't know.
Point being is that the Monsters championship is not the first of just any old championship that they've won in a while. There was somebody before that. It was like a soccer team or something. I think they might have been called the Crunch or the Force. I don't remember, but
Cleveland Crunch, seriously?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. In the the Cleveland Crunch in the 90s, they won a bunch of championships, and they won 3 titles in the National Professional Soccer League.
There you go.
Forming a veritable dynasty of American indoor soccer.
That's right. So, you know what? I think that the national media has been way off base. Cleveland not only has championships, but for a while there, it was a force. It just a dynasty.
There's a picture here with like the crowd in whatever tiny arena they played in, and it looks like it's a sellout. What the hell is this?
It was it the Crunch? Is that what you're talking about?
The Cleveland Crunch.
They were really popular. Well, this is like in the early 90s, I want to say, wasn't it? That indoor soccer was actually a thing for a little bit, not just in Cleveland, but it was kind of popular because it was soccer, but it was exciting because it wasn't a small, basically the size of a hockey rink, and there was a lot more scoring. And
it's like indoor lacrosse. They just put turf on top of the hockey rink.
Oh wow, that is a rockin' arena for indoor soccer.
Yeah, right? There's like there's far too many people in that building.
I'm telling you though, it wasn't just them. I mean, that indoor soccer thing was a thing for a couple of years. People really dug it.
That looks like a fire hazard to me.
Look at that trophy. How you like that? It's like from Dick's Sporting Goods. Let's slap a soccer ball on top of that bitch and give it to him for $14.95. Chris Berman. Is it officially? Is he actually retiring? Because I saw conflicting reports early on. Is it official?
Well, I don't think there's been any official announcement, but there's been several reports saying that with his contract being up this year, and with a guy like Berman not wanting to go anywhere else, he wouldn't want to, go to any other company, and you couldn't even imagine him somewhere else.
No,
that he instead of doing a competing job, he will instead retire from the sports broadcasting business, and he's not that old. He's in his mid-60s?
Yeah. He's not. Yeah, I want to say maybe not even that old. Maybe let me see real quick here. But I'm going to come right out and say it. I'm one of the few people that I like Chris Berman. I don't like him so much now as I used to. He was born in 1955, so that makes him 61, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that much.
No, so but I like him. I always have. I'm not crazy about his play-by-play, and I think he's gotten a little tired over the years, but. I'm not a Chris Berman hater. I never have been.
That what was that game in San Francisco? I think last season that really displayed just how beyond his best fight date he is. What was it? The big bell bottom game?
Yeah.
Well, and here I found what you were talking about, Greg. A reporter from the New York Times talked to Chris Berman's agent. And his agent denies the retirement report, saying Chris is not retiring, loves what he's doing too much, and is too young to hang him up. So, not official, but it's something that's out there at the very least.
Yeah.
Despite anyone's thoughts on him, I think Chris Berman now is not what Chris Berman used to be at any point.
No, not even close.
And, I mean, you think about how when we do our football show, Greg, the amount of things that are just in our regular football fan lexicon because of Chris Berman.
He could go all the way, right?
Yep.
That's Chris Berman.
Yeah. He could go all the way.
Actually, he borrowed that from Howard Cosell, but yeah, it's like a little riff on Howard Cosell, but yeah, that's Berman's who made it famous. Yeah.
Right. There's the G-Men and the Raiders, and nobody circles the wagon.
Yeah.
It's just. Those are Chris Bermanisms, and
you did the Raiders one wrong. It wasn't gargly enough.
There you go. But
and then things like that, and again, say what you will about him doing play-by-play, but when you think of the home run derby, despite how bad we think he is at it, the next time that somebody does it and you don't hear a back, gone, you're going to be like, well, this isn't the same thing as it once was, right?
And I think I get that people maybe I could see where Zach would grow tired, especially with the younger generation, because he really is kind of a relic at this point where I think a lot of his references are just going to be lost on anybody under 25.
Sure, when it gets very specific about certain things, but in a general sense, I think he still does okay.
But what you got to remember too is I grew, I was there pretty much from the beginning. I mean, when ESPN went on the air, I was 18 years old. So, NFL primetime, when it was at the top of its game, there was not a better highlight show in the business. Period.
Oh yeah,
it was just great, and you look forward to it every Sunday night. It was like the minute the 4:00 game was over, it was like straight over to ESPN to watch primetime. And you're right, though. I mean, he's brought a lot of stuff to the table in sports broadcasting, and whether you like him or hate him today, you can't deny the impact he's had on the industry over the years. And I've always been a fan of his. Now, I'm not so much anymore. I even find his stuff kind of hokey and dated now myself, but I've never been one of the, a lot of people are just like, they hate his guts, and I'm not one of those people. I've always liked him.
I've never hated the guy's guts, and I do admit that I do find him endearing as a personality. But at the same time, it's got to the point where it's like, look, Chris, I love you, but at the same time, it is time to go away.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's tough is he is very stale. If he did go away, it might be the right time, even though he's not that young. But there's no other place to put him either. So I think if it is a retirement, or if it is what you could have a thing where Chris Berman doesn't really want to retire, but ESPN's probably like, we're paying you a lot of money and we want to go in a different direction. Thank you for your years of service. And then, would another network want to hire Chris Berman? Like, would Fox Sports try to hire Chris Berman?
It would be. So. I think in sports broadcasting, it would be akin to having Larry Bird play for the Detroit Pistons.
Right.
He could, and he's certainly capable of it, but it just wouldn't look right at all.
Oh, yeah.
Or Wayne Gretzky in a St. Louis Blues uniform. Just not going to work.
Right. Or
I guess the Rangers, whoever down the line, but
Johnny Unitas as a Charger.
Right. Joe Namath as a Ram. That kind of thing.
Johnny Unitas never looked more natural than he did in San Diego Chargers uniform.
Yeah. But, he could very well want to. But again, I think the other question is, I don't know if any other company would want to hire him. Yeah.
Whoa, what happened?
What? Mike,
are you on fire? Mike has exploded. Breaking news on Basically a Sports Show. Mike is spontaneously combusted.
What is happening? Oh my God, Mike, you're being taken away by Supertron. Mike, no. Oh my God, what happened?
He exploded, I think. Mike, you there?
You sound like you're being attacked by
It sounded like you exploded, burst into flames, and then, like Zach said, something attacked you. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
there.
here.
Now he's back to normal.
Now you're back to normal. My God.
I have no idea what just happened.
You sounded like you were just in a static, sandstorm, and it sounded like some evil alien computer program had taken you over. It was like. It's like, what the hell
it was like it sounded like you were on fire, then it sounded like you were in a sandstorm, and then things were exploding, and
it sounded like you were becoming a Decepticon, Mike.
And all the technical problems we've had over the years, I think that might be the best one. That was really incredible.
Wow.
Anyway, back to the point. I could see Fox Sports 1 maybe. I mean, why not? That would be a real coup for them to get. I mean, it would be weird. Don't get me wrong. It would really be odd. But what a coup for them to get Chris Berman. But I don't know. I think he's so loyal to ESPN. I don't think he would do it.
Right. Well, it's that, and he would have to move out to LA, which I don't think he would do. And I also think that I don't think Fox would do it, because where would he go? You want him to anchor the NFL coverage? Well, I mean, they got Kurt Menefee. Is that his name?
Yeah.
That does it right now. He does a pretty good job. Yeah. And it's not like they have a traditional desk show for him to host. There's just no spot. And they have plenty of other guys that are up and coming that
I think
baseball. There's no place for them there.
I think you brought up a good point, though. I'm really beginning to wonder if this isn't more of a money thing where even just to renew him at what he's making right now maybe is an amount of money that ESPN just doesn't want to spend, because we've seen the articles over the past year or two. The profits are down. They laid off, none of these were on-air people, I don't think, but there was a while back they laid off 400 people in a cost-cutting move. And you got to think Berman's got to be in the double-digit millions per year at this point. 10, 12 million a year, maybe more, who knows? And I mean, it could just be simply a matter of his contract's up. He's not going to come back for less. Maybe he would, I don't know, but they're certainly not going to give him more. And you look at it and you go, well, we can have a nice retirement party for him at the end of the season. This can be his big, retirement tour, et cetera, et cetera. And then
as I'm reading in this thing too, Trey Wingo recently signed a new contract with ESPN, and he's obviously been getting a lot more responsibilities. So maybe it's a thing where, look, resign. We'll give you some more responsibilities for now. Berman's contract's up. We probably don't want to pay him as much as he wants anymore. Then you can step in to be the host of NFL Live, NFL Primetime, the Sunday NFL Down stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's, once you factor something like that, and I think that's definitely one of the major driving factors. That has been with a lot of the recent strange ESPN decisions. There's a lot of people leaving ESPN with Tirico and Bayless, and it sounds like Brad Nessler is going to be leaving, and now you could have Berman. There's been a lot of shakeup at the worldwide leader because of all this cost cutting stuff they've been forced to do.
I was just going to say, what do those guys all have in common? They're all big names, and they all probably bring home a pretty hefty paycheck, and they're just not going to pay it. And part of me thinks, okay, from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense because ESPN's never been about the quote-unquote stars. At least that's what they try not to be. So in their mind, they're like, okay, Berman goes, we just plug in Trey Wingo and off we go, no problem. And that may work, I don't know, but
no,
you don't think so, huh?
I think ESPN likes to do the whole thing where it's like nobody's bigger than the name ESPN. I think Chris Berman, just by sheer virtue of being there as long as he has, like since day one, maybe he's not as big as the name ESPN, but I would say he's probably synonymous with ESPN, and I do think he's one of the few guys that they just can't replace.
I would agree with that, and like I said earlier, as far as him going somewhere else, I'm sure he's had ample opportunity over the years to leave and go elsewhere because it wasn't like he had a 30-year contract or whatever. I think he's just so loyal to ESPN, which is kind of a shame in a way because if they are trying to shove him out the door over money, it's kind of a shitty way to treat a guy that has really been pretty loyal to you for all these years. I hope that's not the case, but man, it's true because I haven't heard has Berman addressed this at all? Has he said yes, no, or otherwise on the matter?
No, like I said, the only thing that I could find so far is his agent talking to that New York Times reporter. But
see, now I'm looking at this is from the Big Lead. It says Chris Berman's contract won't be renewed at ESPN. So is it a retirement or is it a forced retirement? What? I don't know.
Well, from the original Big Lead story, the way that they put it was that ESPN wasn't going to renew his contract, but he also wouldn't work for anybody else. So it's an effective retirement rather than him actually retiring. You know, I don't know. It's he's been such an NFL guy. Maybe you would think he worked for the NFL, but again, that would have to bring him out to Los Angeles where the NFL Network studios are.
I thought they were in New York, NFL Network.
No, it's in
I'm thinking MLB Network is in New York. Never mind. Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
If I do have, there are a lot of legitimate criticisms of Chris Berman as far as the style and all that. It's just a matter of opinion. But if there's one thing that I've never liked, and I understand why he does it, and I almost appreciate his honesty, but he's always been such a shill for the NFL. But at least he came out and said, hey, look, this is our product. They pay us, blah, blah, blah.
They pay the bills, basically.
Yeah, so, at least he was kind of honest about it, but that's the only thing that's always kind of bugged me about him is he's just such a shill for the NFL. Not even a little bit of criticism. I can't remember him ever, seriously criticizing anything the league's ever done. And I get why you don't, but there are other guys that work for ESPN that have at least maybe not been as harsh as, say, a Bill Simmons, but at least have kind of not just turned a blind eye to everything, which I think might be overstating it for Berman, but I think he could have been a little more critical of the league over the years than he has been. That'd be my one big complaint with him.
Yeah. Especially recently, given the troubles that the league's encountered the past couple of years. I just think that the widespread criticism where, even Budweiser, one of the league's biggest sponsors, was saying, the league really needs to work on something. Even then, I think that could have given Chris Berman some cover to be a bit critical without getting too much blowback.
Right.
And he kind of stuck to the party line. And again, at least he's honest about it. He's not pretending to be neutral. He's flat out saying, the NFL pays the bills around here, so that's who I'm going to back.
Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, I can't be too critical of that if he's being that honest about it.
Right. It always bugged me, but I always did appreciate the fact that at least he would just say, hey, look, this is the way it works, and okay, you may not like it, but I think it was when Playmakers, when they had all that trouble with that silly show Playmakers, is when he came out and said
the show that was just a bit too close to life.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen that show?
I've never actually seen it, no.
God, it was on when I was just entering high school. I remember it starting. I remember the commercials for it. I think I saw half an episode once, though.
I have it on DVD, and
really,
yeah, it's pretty bad. It's just bad. It's not very good. And I know that they say that it hit too close to home with the NFL, but I'm finding it difficult to believe that running backs went out to the parking lot at halftime and scored Coke during an NFL game.
I don't know. I like if someone came to me and said, like, we're not going to name names, but we can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that an NFL running back has done this, I'd be like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. But
and apparently, the story I've always heard is that it was the NFL who requested that it get taken off because it was hitting too close to home. So, maybe not every NFL locker room was just like a den of sex and drugs, but apparently enough of what they were depicting was based in reality for the NFL to be like, could you take that off?
Oh yeah, there was definitely aspects of it that were very realistic, but it was just a poorly done show.
I've never seen an episode. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's.
My question is, why do you have the DVD?
Somebody got it for me as a gift. It was like first season, or I think I only had one season. But yeah, it was a Christmas present or something. It wasn't like something I went out and got on my own. But people are like, it's a football show. Greg likes sports. That's Merry Christmas. One of those type deals. That's why. Anyway, any more on Chris Berman, or shall we move on?
As much as I think it's time for him to go, I will say I'll miss him to a degree.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, if I ever make this my job where, I get to talk about sports on a regular basis, I have no doubt that certain things that he does, specifically something like, which I do a lot, like in regular talking with actual people outside of face-to-face conversations. Some of those things will stick with me, and really a whole generation of people that grew up watching the guy do his job.
When I was doing we did a little half-hour sports talk show, I found myself using a lot of like the way he would transition stuff and ask questions. I found myself imitating that a lot. I did it with Joe Buck too during play-by-play. Don't tell anybody. I borrowed some stuff from him as well.
Let's make it Mike's Tab.
Okay. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, Mike's Tabs. Except it's just a tab. Let me do that again.
Mike's Tabs. Mike's Tabs.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike's Tab.
The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports in high definition.
Mike's Tab.
So, bombshell in the comic book world.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
A captain of national affiliation has turned his back on everything his country holds dear.
Captain Cannon has moved to the...
Captain Canuck has said, I'm not sorry.
What you mean to say is...
what about Captain Confederate? Come on. Wasn't there a Captain...
Captain Confederate was nice to a black person, so now it's just... No one knows.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
The hell's the world coming to?
But okay, yeah. Obviously, the real story, Marvel kind of relaunched Captain America. It was Captain America Steve Rogers #1, and at the end of the issue, they reveal that Captain America, for 75 years, has been an undercover agent of Hydra.
Which is some serious bullshit. I'm sorry.
The creators said something along the lines of, well, like, they've had a lot of interviews, but they're not. They've said very specifically, this isn't like an alternate reality. He didn't have amnesia. He's not some clone. He's not like a triple agent, or there's nothing weird that's happened to him. This is just this is canon. This is what happened. And it's like, well. So basically, so in other words, we just took a much beloved character and just totally fucking ruined him for everybody. Pretty much, right. And the other thing they said is like, well, if you go back and we're not going to point out the specific things here because you can go back and read them yourself. But if you if you connect the dots over all the years, it makes a lot of sense. And it's like
the only way it makes sense is that Steve Rogers is in fact blonde-haired and blue-eyed, so he might have an affinity for Nazis.
Or the Nazis might have an affinity for him, is what you mean.
Although it is worth noting that Captain America's original creators were Jewish, and you've now turned him into a secret undercover agent for a Nazi terrorist organization.
Nice.
Like, the only way this thing gets resolved correctly is they said that they're not going to do any of that stuff, and so I guess you have to make it sound like it's actually a long play and he's actually a triple agent. Like, that's what has to happen, because
Also,
he can't be a Hydra agent. It just
I'll tell
it
you
goes
what else
against
needs
the
to happen.
whole thing.
I'll tell you what else needs to happen, tying into Civil War talk. They need to have a scene where like Tony just throws the biggest like I was right kegger.
Yeah,
Their Iron Man is just like Iron Man's just like told you.
just it would be like if Batman told you that his parents actually weren't killed, or if Superman killed people. Oh wait, he's done that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, by the way, who on our next episode of Basically a Geek Show, we're really going to go into the demented mind of Zack Snyder, because whoa, has some shit happened on that front. But let's pull it back to Captain America for a moment. The part of me that is an Iron Man fan, and the part of and the Civil War fan in me that has been sort of revived thanks to the Civil War movie is kind of going like basically, yeah, told you, like Team Iron Man side vindicated. But the part of me that's a comic book fan wants to burn down Marvel headquarters, War of 1812 style, because you've basically told every comic book fan, you know, that everything that Steve Rogers has done in the comic books for the last 75 years is null and void, because he's been working for Hydra the whole time secretly. And
this just seems to me like a ploy. It's just stupid. But go ahead.
It's a ploy to drive sales. That's
right.
all. That's
exactly.
all that it is. That's all that it is. But I don't But like, it's the ultimate, cut off your nose to spite your face kind of situation, because yeah, it's going to get people talking about the comic books again, but nobody's going to be happy about this. You're not going to gain any new readers, and what loyal Captain America readers you have left are probably just going to throw up their arms in disgust until this gets undone somehow. I don't know how you could undo it, because Zach's right. They've already said it's not an alternate reality, it's not mind control. He's not a triple agent. Like, they basically said he works for Hydra. So I don't know how you can undo this. It's comic books. It's comic books. So
you come out and you say somebody fucked up bad and we didn't mean it. That's what you say. That's how you undo it.
So what about all those times where Captain America, killed Red Skull, the leader of Hydra?
Which has happened multiple times.
Right. Or, because they're going to have to really explain to us, okay, Captain America was created by American scientists. Mm-hmm. Or I guess he was a German scientist that did it.
It was a German scientist, but the German scientist had defected to the United States because he was so the Nazis are kind of fucking shit up in Germany, so I'm going to chill here.
Well, I guess they would have to say something along the lines of, well, he actually didn't defect. He was actually a Hydra agent, and then he put Hydra ideas into the serum or whatever. And
but he's not under mind control, right? So the only way that it works is that
it wouldn't be mind control, because it just or if it's not mind control, at what point did they sway him to their side? It just it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for a gazillion different reasons. 75 of them being the years that he's been around that he wasn't a Hydra agent. That's the whole thing. It just makes no sense. And as far as a sales ploy goes, this is a pretty dumb one, I think. But you just can't. I don't know how you get there. How do you get there?
Chris Evans was not happy, by the way.
I don't blame him.
He doesn't
I'm not going to stop wearing my Captain America hat. I can tell him that right now. They can fuck off.
Well, if you don't stop, if you wear it now, you must hate America, Greg. I don't know what else to tell you.
Oh, I hate America for a bunch of other reasons besides that, so it's fine.
Namely, the hockey team selections. Yeah, this is just terrible. This is just terrible. This, again, kind of reminds me. It's obviously not the same thing, but I get the same kind of feel as what they did to the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, where it's you can't take these characters who have been around, 50, 75 years, who people have grown attached to, and then just say, no, it was really this other thing the whole time. Like, no,
Right.
that doesn't work. Like, obviously, okay, comic books are a unique medium because in comic book stories, there is never – you don't have the beginning, middle, end story progression because it's always a continuous story. You have beginning, middle, and end to various story arcs, but the story itself is always ongoing. So you do have to keep things fresh now, and you do have to change things up and try new ideas. But
That's why DC restarts the universe every 4 years.
yeah,
I mean, they're doing it again. They're having another like
real are they?
Oh, jeez.
like universe affecting thing, and they're gonna have like I think they're calling it Rebirth now because like the last thing was Flashpoint, where something Flash did reset the entire universe. So then we have the New 52. Now they're gonna have a Rebirth thing where they're going to somehow have a big event that's gonna reset the universe, and everyone can start over from ground zero again.
Because the last restart was not good, but the last restart was also unnecessary, so whatever. But I mean, I get the need to reinvent things in comics every now and then just to shake up the status quo and to try new ideas out, but at the same time I think that the limits on that should be, at the end of the day, try to basically respect the character's history, and you can't just say this character who you've grown accustomed to is not what you've grown accustomed to, because at that point it's just like, well, I'm not a Captain America fan, but I've been reading Iron Man since I was 10 years old, so let's do this alternate reality where instead of reading Iron Man since I was 10, I was reading Captain America since I was 10. Well, now I'm going to go, what? So for the past 18 years I've been wasting my time? Because that's what it would feel like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And because for the past 18 years I've been reading Captain America, and it turned out that this character who I've grown attached to, who I've grown fond of, is not what he's been portrayed as for the past 18 years. And now I don't even feel like it's a worthwhile twist. I just feel like I've been betrayed essentially by the comic book.
Not only is he not the person that he was portrayed to be, but he is like so ridiculously opposite of what he was portrayed to be. Is really the ridiculous part of the whole thing.
The good guy for the last 75 years has actually been the bad guy for the last 75.
The only joy I take out of this is that this retroactively makes Civil War, the comic book series, like, as an Iron Man fan, it's just sort of like, I was right.
Right, so does that mean Crossbones is a good guy? Killed Iron Man, or killed Captain America, right?
Guess so.
I mean, Crossbones was the true American trying to weed out the Nazi deception.
Aha, there it is. Don't listen to him, Peter. He's not good for you. Just because he's from Brooklyn doesn't mean that he's one of us.
It's just so stupid. I'm sorry, but this is just like, I don't even know how to describe this. I mean, it's just dumb. I mean, I wish I could do better than that, but it's just, I mean, I read that, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Tony Stark is an alcoholic and a womanizer. You know what he's not? A fucking Nazi.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. I mean, I mean, okay, like you said, Mike, I can understand, like, every once in a while you want to do a little thing to kind of kickstart things, get them going again.
And they've done that. Captain America's done that. Like, they've played with Captain America before. There was like that one period where he wasn't Captain America and he was just known as the Nomad, which was stupid, but at least it didn't shit on the character's history up till that point.
But this seems,
which, by the way, Mike, if you read into some context clues from the end of Civil War,
he's going to become Nomad, yeah.
Right.
I hope he wears the stupid Nomad.
This is like if you went into, like, say, a class of 7th graders and said, okay, we need a twist for Captain America. This is what they would come up with. And not because 7th graders are dumb, they're just not, they're not, it's just not very creative.
They're not. Yes, they are dumb.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just a matter of, this is not something that's terribly creative. It's stupid. And
it's one of those things that seems creative when you first say it, and then you put a second of thought into it, and it stops being creative. Like,
right.
it only seems creative because of the shock value, which is, again, why this is a terrible marketing ploy, because you'll get a lot of people talking about your product, and you might see a bump in sales because people who are just outraged want to know how this happened, and they're going to be hoping for backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, I'll read a couple Captain America issues just to see if they explain this.
Well,
but long term, nobody's going to be happy about this. Nobody's going to stick around because of this.
It worked with Superman when they killed Superman back in whenever it was.
Yeah,
I hadn't read a Superman comic since I was probably 13 years old, but I wanted to see how they did it, and I read it, and that was it. It wasn't like I'm like, hey, I'm back. It was like
here's the thing: Death of Superman ruined that for comic books forever, because it used to be in comic books, as hard as it is to believe. Prior to Death of Superman, death was permanent in comic books. If a character died, that character stayed dead. But then Superman had Death of Superman, and then they resurrected him in such short order that it basically proved to the comic industry that you can do something ridiculously shocking and see a short-term boost in attention and sales, and it would actually be worth it, even if it completely screws up the product. So ultimately, this is DC's fault.
Well, it's always DC's fault. But that's the thing. It's like, and it will work. Like you said, there will be people that will hate read it. There will be people that will be like, well, I'm curious, how did this happen? And that'll be it. You're not going to get any sustained growth out of this. You're not going to pick up new readers. You're not going to pick up anyone. You're not going to bring back people that had left because maybe they thought Captain America had gotten old or whatever. You're going to get people that go, I want to see how this happened and why, and that's going to be the end of it. And then what? Then you've got a character that you've just totally fucked that no one cares about at all, period.
Well, what's absolutely ridiculous is that you have like Zach said, like the creators who came up with this idea have done interviews, and in one of the interviews they were saying how as they were kind of approaching the 75th anniversary of Captain America, they were trying to think of ways to reinvigorate him, and apparently you reinvigorate him by turning him into a Nazi? Like, I don't see how that works.
Well, it's
it's just there was a example I was going to put forward, but I don't remember. Anyway, continue. What were you going to say?
That again, and to be clear, when I say this, I'm not coming at this from like I'm an offended perspective.
Oh.
I'm saying this almost the comedy of it. Again, you took the creation of some Jewish comic book writers and you turned him into a Nazi. So congratulations.
What it reminds me of. What I remembered is what it reminds me of is when DC did its last reboot of things.
When Flash broke the universe.
Right. The Green Lantern comic, mm-hmm. the main Green Lantern of the Green Lantern comic series wasn't Hal Jordan when they restarted the universe again. Mm-hmm. It was actually Sinestro, who mm-hmm. everyone knows is Sinestro's one of Green Lantern's main bad guys. Mm-hmm. And yes, he did start out as a Green Lantern and then became, Sinestro with the yellow ring. But for them to like restart it with like, and Hal Jordan was still in the book, he was just like hanging around, and it's like, well, Sinestro's the good guy now, and here's normal dude Hal Jordan. Mm-hmm. I tried to follow it for like 3 issues, and I'm just like, I don't care. Let me know if Hal Jordan becomes Green Lantern or when he becomes Green Lantern again.
Well, because we all know how that ends. Sinestro's gonna become evil and get the yellow ring, and that's gonna because
he has to. He has to at some point, because that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of makes me happy that one of the things that Marvel did, which was nice, is they had the regular continuity, but if they wanted to fuck around, they had the Ultimates continuity.
The ultimate continuity though got really weird, like when they had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch like in a romantic relationship, even though they're brother and sister in that universe too.
But Ultimates is also where we got Miles Morales as Spider-Man instead of Peter Parker,
which was fun, and they kept him even though they completely like destroyed the rest of that thing. But
and even like in Spider-Man, I think it was like 2 years ago, they did a weird thing where they somehow had Dr. Octopus and Peter Parker like switch brains.
Yeah.
So Captain or Dr. Octopus was actually Peter Parker and had to like pretend to be Spider-Man and do Spider-Man things, even though he was Dr. Octopus.
And he called himself Superior Spider-Man, and he switched out the blue in his costume to black so we would all know he's evil.
Right.
We have a tie game in San Jose or in Pittsburgh, guys. San Jose just scored. Patrick Marleau.
Patrick Marleau of all people.
Wow. All right, go ahead. Anyway.
So but that's the kind of goofy stuff that ultimately doesn't destroy the history and the integrity of the characters. It's just like, so for a couple months, Captain America, for the couple months, Peter Parker and Dr. Octopus will have switched brains. Okay, that's kind of fun and stupid, but we all know it's going to get undone sooner or later. But then it's like, now this is almost again to do another equivalent. Another equivalent situation would be if it turned out that upon getting his powers all those years ago, Peter Parker murdered Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, okay, now everything is stupid now. So
but you know what though? I mean, with every effort we've made to try to make an equivalent to this, I think it's fallen short. I don't think there's anything more ridiculous than taking Captain America and turning him into a Nazi. All right. Anyway, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, folks, you know the routine. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube, and find us on the Facebook. And with that,
and upcoming Basically a Geek show, we talk about the madness of Zack Snyder.
Oh, and speaking of Zach's, Zach appeared on Behind the Avatar with our former co-host Andy. I listened to it. It was a very good show. I highly suggest listening to it. Of course, they said some very nice things about me at the beginning, so of course I like that part of it. But it's really good. You give it a listen. I did find it funny though. He asked you who you had the biggest fight on CCSLC with, and it turned out to be Mike, which I thought was pretty fucking funny. So
From the early days,
way back in the old days.
Far over the Mighty Ducks and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I just remember whenever we were first talking with you, it's like, oh God, this asshole just won't. He always has to have the last word, and he thinks he's smarter than everybody. Fuck this guy. But like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he keeps spouting off shit. Shut up.
That's gonna do it. We'll see you next time. Any final thoughts, guys?
Go Penguins.
Go Penguins.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Later.
See ya.